everybody. Welcome. I'm super excited to be here. My name's Christy Jenks, and I'm your presenter for the next little bit. And today we are going to be talking about going from super busy to very efficient. You will walk away with the exact strategies you need to be able to up your game because, hey, we know times are difficult right now. We have a lot of things going on, and we just want to make it work. So, as I mentioned, my name is Christy Jenks, and I became a mother of 3 overnight. In fact, these are what I refer to as my originals. They are my first little kids. I was a foster mom, and on December 29th, I had no children in my home, and I woke up the next day with 3 kiddos. As you can imagine, being a first-time mom, that was a little bit crazy. But from there, my husband and I decided that we loved fostering children, and we just kept doing it. So we, for over 7 years, fostered babies while we continued to grow our family. And I would say it was super fun. By the way, these are what I call my triplets. They're my Irish triplets. They're all 11 months apart, and it was absolutely an insane time. But I would say that I was crushing motherhood. I mean, that's a picture of my pantry. That's when my son exploded his Legos, right? I had everything under control because, oh, by the way, I was also a brand new real estate agent. I had been in the business just a year. My husband was also a real estate agent. So we had tons of time and we're growing this busy, busy family. Well, fast forward, we ended up adopting 8 children and we absolutely love our family. And I share this with you because I'm in it with you, showing homes, listing appointments, and raising a very busy, very hectic family. And we're going to start by talking about the plays that I run that work. So again, it was a lot of trial and error. How did I come to this point? Well, it always started by running plays that work. I have a couple that I run on repeat, and I'm going to dive into each of these so that you can find the steps that'll work for you and apply them to your business to help you just be a little more efficient, right? I'm not going to say it's going to be perfect because someone's going to throw up. Someone's going to lose a shoe, right? You're going to get a flat tire. Something's going to happen. But if you run plays that work, the likelihood of you being a little more efficient and just not having to work as hard in terms of, all the time, no vacation, 7 days a week, will be better. So the first play that I run, it starts with personal integrity, right? Here's the thing. I'm recording this in a studio, so we're not live. But if I was live, I'd point to someone, let's call her Betty, and I'd say, Betty, I have no doubt that if you were to set a listing appointment or you were to set an appointment with a buyer, that you would 100% of the time show up for that appointment, right? And I would ask you to ask that question of yourself. Would you show up to an appointment that you set with a buyer or seller? Hopefully the answer is yes, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to be yes. But how come we set appointments with ourselves and we don't keep them? Let that sink in. Have you ever said, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and the alarm clock goes off and you hit the snooze button, right? Or I'm going to start a diet. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to fill in the blank. We do this all the time. Here's a big one. I'm going to make my calls, right? Because we all love prospecting, right? We set appointments with ourselves all the time, and then we just let busy life and chaos override those appointments and we don't keep them. So the first part of being more efficient is checking your personal integrity, right? Keep the appointments that you set with yourself because every time you cancel an appointment with yourself, you're making a deposit that's either good or bad, right? So the appointments that I keep with myself, the story that I'm starting to tell myself is I do what I say I'm going to do. I keep the appointments with myself. If I say I'm going to the gym, I'm going to the gym. If I say I'm going to make my calls, I make my calls. Or it could be the opposite type of deposit, right? I'm never going to do that. I say that I'm going to do that, but I already know that little appointment reminder is going to come up and I'm going to be like, I'm really busy. I can't make my calls. I just don't feel motivated to go to the gym. Whatever it is, right? So it starts with personal integrity. Start keeping the appointments that you make with yourself. The next thing is I look for routines, right? I look for the winning moments in my life, and then I create routines around them. One that I realized really early on was when I had those babies, those triplets that were 11 months apart, right? That's 3 diaper bags. That's bottles, diapers, shoes, clothes, all of the things that make raising kids interesting and fun. So I started to put some routines together. I started packing their shoes the night before. Like everybody had to find their shoes, but pair them up, because the worst thing in the morning is you're trying to leave because you got to get to an appointment and drop the kids off at daycare or school or wherever, and someone can't find their shoes. So I have 3 routines that I run pretty consistently that work. The first one, I call it wake up in the F's. And I'm telling you, it's not for fun. Waking up in the F's is not fun, but it's functional. So I call that like 4 or 5 a.m. And I will put a little asterisk caveat here. If you don't have little people who are depending on you to get things done, you may not have to wake up at 5, right? If it's just you and your cat, you and your dog, you're right, and maybe you can wake up at 6 and get to the gym and still get to the office by 8 o'clock, right? Um, you may not have to, but if you have people that count on you, you're probably waking up with somewhere in an F, because there are things that need to get done before all those people demand your time. So wake up early. What is early? Well, again, I don't want you getting to the office at 10, 11 o'clock, and then you're going to have lunch and all that stuff. You want to get to the office early, or get in your office at a time where you can be functional. So I love The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. It is one of my favorite books. Shout out to that book. If you haven't read it, he's got one for realtors. It's really, really good. You've got to have a solid morning routine, right? And it doesn't need to be this elaborate, like I meditate for 25 minutes, I work out for an hour and a half, and then I stretch, and then I have my coffee, and then I read 10 pages of a good book. And now I'm like, holy cow, who has time for that, right? My morning routine is super, super simple. It doesn't take a lot of time. It gets me physically moving, it gets me mentally prepared, and it gets my mindset ready to hit the day. You got to have a morning routine. You need to set your intentions for the day. CEO mentality. You're not going to spend all your time running around responding to everybody else. You're going to do what needs to get done functionally, but then you're going to put some CEO mentality time in there, working on the business, not in the business, so that you can create some efficiencies. The way that I do that is I revisit my goals every single day. I keep them top priority so that I can make a decision. Do I need to go this way, or do you need to go that way? This way is in alignment with my goals. That way is not. Maybe that's not something I focus on right now. And then, of course, the best type of morning routine starts the night before. Set yourself up for the day. As I mentioned, setting out the shoes, setting out the clothes, packing the diaper bags, all of those things helped me have a much better morning. And quite frankly, I was a nicer mom because I wasn't yelling at all the kids. Now they get themselves dressed and they get their own clothes ready, but we still talk about their nightly routines because I want them to have a good morning. So that means I want them to be pulling out their clothes, to be pulling out their shoes, packing their lunch, packing their backpack, teaching my kids to do that. The second routine is I don't wing it. Oh my gosh, so many agents out there, they just want to wing it. They're like, I don't know what I'm doing today. I don't know what I'm doing this week. Have a weekly planning meeting. And in fact, if you have a partner, if you have a spouse, if you have people that depend on you, right? Whether it's your parents, maybe you're taking care of, or your kids, whoever it is, have a weekly planning meeting so that everybody can be on the same page. The other thing I do is I don't do this like back and forth for meetings. I like to use a product called Calendly. My husband likes TidyCal. Both of us actually just switched to Google's scheduling system, but we use a scheduling system. So when people need to meet with us, I just send them my link, right? So my link is also set up with my boundaries in place, right? When I send you my link for you to get into my schedule, whether you're a client, you're an agent, whoever, I send it to everybody. I don't send it to my doctor. Basically, I have to use their Calendly link to get into the doctor, but you get it. Anybody who wants to be on my calendar, I send them my link, they get in. That's because I live by my calendar and I don't wing it. If you have a team, and even if you don't have a team, but you have a transaction coordinator or a virtual assistant, you need to set up weekly operations meetings to move things into your schedule. If it's just you, then you schedule yourself in that weekly planning session and you say, okay, here are my goals. Here are my to-do lists. How do I get this into my schedule, right? You're not going to have time for everything. And that's why I love to have a doing, and done board. I know there are a lot of things that I want to do, and it'll just live on a to-do list until I put it into my calendar. But so that I can feel good about the choices that I'm making, I keep a do, doing, and done board so that I know strategically what I'm moving from the do list into the doing, and then I get to see the gratification of checking it off on my done. So don't wing it, which brings us into the calendar and into time blocking. Here's the thing, you already know how to time block. In fact, there was a 4-year, potentially longer, maybe even 8-year period of your life that you were time blocking very consistently, and you mastered it. It was called high school, right? In high school, you moved from subject to subject in a time session. And when you were in math, you worked on math. And when you were in science, you worked on science. It was very organized, very structured. You already know how to do that. We just are not in high school or college. So my calendar is set up so that I prioritize my rocks, or some people call them WIGs, wildly important goals, right? My rocks are the things that I'm committed to moving forward. It's my goals. That gets prioritization in my calendar. My family and my personal things also go into my calendar. I can't tell you how many times I've been with somebody, I've been on a coaching call with a client, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I forgot I got to go pick up my kids." I'm like, "How could I forget to pick up your kids? Is it not in your calendar?" Yes. Dog appointments, hair appointments, picking up your kids, dropping them off. If you were to look at my calendar, one of the things you would see is that my high school boys have football on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My middle schooler has football on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, right? And my daughter has gymnastics on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, right? I have all of that in my calendar. Well, why would that be in my calendar? Well, one, I need to know, and my husband needs to know who's dropping off, who's picking up. If it's a restraint on your time, it belongs in your calendar, right? Outside of those goals and my family, then I go into work mode, and I go in this order. I always do my prospecting first. That's the most important thing that goes in. It's non-negotiable. It is how you make it through tough markets. It's how you stay successful and avoid that like roller coaster income. Prospecting goes first. So that goes first into my calendar. After that, I go back and say, okay, what are the projects that I'm working on that I'm trying to move my business forward? And I put those in. Now I have soft blocks and hard blocks. Hard blocks are things that I don't move, can't move, won't move. And soft blocks are things that if I were to schedule an appointment, I'd put those in there. I do like to pre-book where I want my appointments are, but because I'm using Calendly, I put those in there, but it shows me as available so that I can use that. But my Calendly also doesn't show my full schedule. So again, if my prospecting is done at a specific time of the day, I don't give my clients options to book me at that time. And that's why I also really, really enjoy using a scheduling tool, because then I never have to make decisions about when or when I'm not available. My calendar just shows it, right? But I do like to funnel my clients into appointment slots, and I do that with my Calendly tools, and it's eliminated a lot. I have some. If you need morning, it's going to definitely be on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I don't work Sunday, so you're not even going to see Sunday as an option. Most of mine are afternoon and evening blocks, and they work around my family obligations, and I keep those open so that I can do that. I also really work on days by design. Days by design is how I try to funnel activities that are similar into a specific day. So for instance, on days that I really need to work my database, let's call it past clients and sphere, I always schedule that on Fridays. So that way, when I'm making my calls on Fridays, I know who I'm calling. It's going to be my database, right? And maybe Wednesday is my long-term lead follow-up. And I really try to do that. Outside of my prospecting and lead follow-up, I also do days by design, where every Wednesday I take a personal half day and I do all of the personal things that I need to do. So that's going to be my hair appointment, that's going to be my eyelashes, it's going to be a facial, a massage, or it will also be things that I have to do for my family. So I'm funneling dentist appointments to Wednesday afternoon, doctor's appointments to Wednesday afternoon, anything that I can schedule, I push towards a Wednesday afternoon in advance. So now I know most Wednesday afternoons, I'm going to be dealing with something personal for myself or for my family, and I'm not interrupted all week long. So anytime you can try to pick days by design, I highly recommend it. You'll be more efficient and you'll have greater control over your schedule. There's this thing called Parkinson's law. It says that work tends to expand to the time allotted for it, right? Wasted time. You are never more efficient than the day before you leave on vacation. Because think about it. If you didn't get your laundry done, well, then you either don't have laundry on vacation or you're wearing dirty clothes. Work expands to the time that you allot it. Here's an example. Oh, I'm going to work on my listing presentation, but you don't put a time frame on it. Well, you could be working on your listing presentation for 2 months, right? But if you say, I'm going to revise my listing presentation and I'm going to do it on Friday from 1 to 2, you will knock it out. And if you don't finish it, then you know, oh gosh, I still got like 30 minutes more of work, and you schedule that and you get it done. So the opposite of Parkinson's law is Horstman's corollary, and that's the one that you want to be working on. You've got to master your schedule. The highest and best use of your time, HBUT, right? Highest and best use of your time. 70% of your time should be spent on things that make you money. What are the things that make you money, right? Setting appointments, going on appointments, writing contracts, negotiating contracts, closing deals, and I would even add maybe some content creation in there so that way you're educating your clients. But 70% of your time should be spent on things that are income generating. Set appointments, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, close deals. That's what makes you money, right? Be ready to work in small bursts, right? Like that means that, you may have a 30-minute opening in your schedule. What are you going to work on in 30 minutes? How do you know what you're going to work on? How can you reduce decision fatigue? That's why I love my CRM. My CRM reduces decision fatigue. I never have to think about who am I going to call today. I go into my CRM, it tells me who to call, and I make those calls. I also like to gamify. This is just a little hack, and I'll share some screenshots with you here of what this looks like. And I like to gamify. We call this the 100-point day. I'll show you in just a second, where you will go through and you will figure out, how can I earn 100 points today? What are the activities I can do to earn 100 points? And it's very structured. But we've also created daily accountability books for ourselves to keep us on track. And of course, you could also get an accountability partner so that you could be, working together. Maybe you have a coach that also helps you. So let's make this screen big for a second. This is an example of my 100-point daily success checklist. I got this from Mark Pattison in San Diego in Porchlight Realty. This is so much fun because, again, I want to reduce decision fatigue and I just want to focus on things that work. So how could I earn 100 points today? Boom, I go through that list and I figure out there's no wrong way to 100 points, but all of this is going to be income generating. On the left-hand side, though, you'll see this is my accountability book. On the bottom, it tracks my conversations and my appointments. So basically my key performance indicators that are going to allow me to know how to best leverage my time. And then up at the top, it's got some best practices. Am I logging into my CRM? Am I doing my calls or my hour of power? These are two tools that are just an example of how you could gamify your day and make it a little bit more fun. So I love those as resources that you guys can look at. But let's also talk about who, not how, right? Hopefully you guys are still with me because I know I'm talking fast. That's why I love video. It has infinite patience. You can just rewind this and listen to me in a slower speed. But let's talk about who, not how. I said you've got to spend about 70% of your time on income generating activities. How do you do that? Well, one, maybe you need an assistant, right? Because if you don't have an assistant, guess who's your assistant? You are, right? Which means that you're probably doing tasks that are not income generating and are not the highest and best use of your time. So I love virtual assistants or just a regular assistant, transaction coordinators, all of those things. They help support you and give just your client a better experience in real estate. But in addition to that, there are things that I just no longer do in my general day-to-day, right? So maybe look at stuff like TaskRabbit or Tackle or Upwork or Fiverr. Those are all companies that you can get people to do things for you for a nominal fee so that you can focus on the things that create income generating. Like cleaning your house. Maybe you should hire someone to do that, or maybe you should hire someone to help with the kids so that you can spend time income generating, right? You have to figure out what your time is worth and what is your hourly wage. How much time do I make when I'm selling real estate versus how much time do I make when I'm doing my laundry, right? What's my hourly wage? Focus on the things that give you the highest output and also what makes you happy. I would say that too, right? I also leverage technology. This one is absolutely crucial. I have to leverage technology. So I order all my groceries online. I stopped going to the grocery store and I immediately gained back over 4 hours a week. So I create these lists and these menus. There are things that, like, my kids like spaghetti. We're going to have spaghetti almost every single week. So I create these lists and these menus with these online tools that allow me to order my groceries in like 15 minutes, and then it's delivered directly to my house, giving me back over 4 hours a week that then I could either go on a date with my husband or spend time with my kids, maybe pick up a hobby, or I could put that back into work. Again, I don't know where your life is and where you need to be investing more of your time. That's why I also meal plan. Meal planning is just a huge piece. I actually really like ChatGPT. If you guys haven't used AI to help you meal plan, it is absolutely phenomenal. It'll even create grocery lists for you, which then I look into these other online portals like Amazon Subscribe. That's one of my favorites. I don't have to think about when to buy laundry soap, toilet paper, toothpaste, deodorant, all those things that I know that my family's going to use. I put on subscription and they just come to the house and I don't have to think about it. I mentioned scheduling tools. My favorite currently, I used Calendly for a lot of years. My husband liked TidyCal. Both of us are Google users, so we are Gmail. Gmail and Google Calendar created their own scheduling tool, and it's free and it is amazing and I love it. It lives inside my calendar and it's super easy. In fact, I use text replacement. So sorry, Android users, I don't know how to do text replacement for you, but if you are an iPhone user, you can do that really cool thing where you do text replacement. So all I do is type in CLDY and it populates my scheduling link, and I can text that, I can email that, I can DM it. Anytime someone says, hey, do you have a minute? I send them my scheduling tool and it is the best thing that I do. AI, of course, has changed exponentially. I take stuff like this. Whenever I'm creating long form content, I'll take something like this and I'll move it over into something like Opus Pro, and it'll create short form content for me. So I'm able to leverage the content that I create. There are other tools like Submagic. That's one of my favorites. So if you're creating short form video, I love using Submagic because it'll do the captions, it'll do the B-roll video. It does all of these incredible things. So what used to take me a long time, or that I would hire out on Fiverr, I'm now able to put that technology in the hands of myself or my assistant, and we can create massive amount of content in just a short amount of time. AI is one of my favorite things. Obviously, ChatGPT is one of the tools that I use all the time, but I leverage technology in other ways too. I mentioned ChatGPT, Opus Pro. So how do we use chat? Well, we're using chat for a lot of things. I'm using it to create captions. I'm using it to identify SEO. I'm using it in my blogs, on my website, in my email campaigns. Now, I don't want to sound like a robot, so I've trained my chat and we've created our own GPTs that are trained on our company, so it knows our mission, vision, values. It knows who we are and what we do and who we do it for, so it sounds a lot more like us. So that's one of the tools that we use almost every single day, but I use it for my personal life. Like I said, you can use it to plan a trip. You can use it to create a menu, a shopping list. You can use it as a journal. There's so many different things. I mentioned Opus Pro. That takes all my long form content, turns it into short form content. Synthesa has got some other AI tools that I really like. IFTTT, and I would add to that make.com. So IFTTT and make.com, that's automation. So what does that do? Well, anytime, it's an if this then that is what IFTTT stands for. So if someone fills out my Google survey, drop them into my MailChimp account. Right? That's an example. I love IFTTT and make.com. I'm even utilizing it to optimize my Google business page. I've got this one's crazy. So I take ChatGPT and make.com and I send a prompt to make.com, or I send a prompt to ChatGPT. It creates a Google business post and then it sends it back to make, and make then posts it on my Google page. So I've got ChatGPT creating SEO rich content every single day for my Google business page, and it's done without me ever touching it. I hired someone to do that one. That was complicated, but it's all using tools like Zapier, IFTT. Loomly, oh my gosh, you guys, this one will save you hundreds of hours a year. It saves me on average about 15 hours a month. Loomly is a screen capturing tool, and how I use it with my assistant. So anytime I need to teach them how to do something, I record my screen and I talk to it just like I am to you guys right now, and I go through the process, and then it saves it and it puts it into its own library. And so now I have a library on how to use the CRM. I have a library on how to do stuff with the contracts. I have a library on every single SOP inside my business. And as I mentioned earlier, video has infinite patience. So anytime I need to teach somebody something, I'm using Loomly, but I also use it because I don't know if you could tell, but I am an expressive personality, right? And so a lot of times I am a verbal processor. So if I have to convey something even to my clients, this is actually one of the ways that I will explain the contract is I'll open up just like I am right now and imagine that what you're seeing right now is a purchase contract. And I explain to my sellers, I say, good morning, Mr. and Mr. Seller, we got a contract last night. Here's what it looks like. And I break it down and I'm showing it to them and I explain it to them. And then I send that video over to them and we jump on the phone. So I use it with my clients, I use it with my assistants, and I use it to be able to convey. My favorite way to use Loomly is also with equity reviews. So I'll just record my screen and I'll go through the CMA and I'll send it over to my clients, right? I'm utilizing all of the Meta suite to be able to optimize Instagram and Facebook and to allow my assistants to be able to do some of that business management in there. Of course, my CRM is completely automated. Anytime we get a lead, it goes in automatically through Zapier and fills all of that. It kicks off a text message, it fires off an email, and it gives me a notification to do something. And I even have it set up that if my clients open up an e-alert 3 times, send them this text message. We've got so much automation inside our CRM that it allows me to only focus on the most important thing, which is making the calls. I let the CRM do the emails, the text messaging, everything else, and I focus on making the calls. So if you're not leveraging technology, pick one of these tools. And like I said, I didn't put on here Sub Magic because that's a brand new one that I'm using that I really, really like. Obviously, CapCut should be in here. There's so many, I can't name them all. The point that I want to make, though, is if you're not leveraging technology, then you're getting left behind. So let's make sure you're doing that. We have to talk about the CRM. This one's critical, right? If you don't have a CRM, you need one. Obviously, our brokerage allows us and gives us one of the best out there, so utilize that. But I connect my CRM to my email service provider, so that's SendGrid or MailChimp. We do mass emails, we do campaigns, auto campaigns. We utilize the tags to be able to filter and sort our clients. We put all of our home anniversaries and our birthdays in there so we get triggers and reminders and we never forget anything because we log all of our calls and put all our notes in there. It's one of the best ways to make more money, right? There's endless integrations inside your CRM. Most of these, like one of the coolest ones that we have is we have our CRM connected to, you could do mailbox power. That's a really, really cool one. So you could say, every time I get a lead like this, snail mail something like this. Or every time my client has a birthday, right? Send them a birthday card automatically. This is an example of one of the automations that we have set up inside of our CRM that allows us to send birthday cards and home anniversary cards. And I don't even have to think about it. My CRM just does it. It's pretty awesome. So if you're not digging into your CRM, you definitely should. So as we wrap up, there's a couple things that I just want you to know. The minutes that you need are all around you. You just have to figure out how to recapture them, right? So it starts by keeping the appointments that you set with yourself. Remember that. Keep the appointments that you set with yourself because you're casting a vote on the person that you want to be. Find the winning moments in your life, right? And then create routines around them. I gave you just some examples of nightly, morning routines. And heck, even ordering my groceries now is a routine. In fact, I've even trained my kids, if you need deodorant, if you need socks, you need whatever you need, you let mom know by Thursday because mom orders groceries every Friday. They're delivered every Saturday. And if you come to her on Saturday morning saying you needed a poster board, well, mom doesn't do last minute. So I align routines around that. And then I actually do train the people in my lives to run the plays that work, right? Think about who, not how. That could be someone to do your laundry. That could be someone to wash your car. It could be someone to do your transaction management. You cannot do it all. And if you're trying to do it all, chances are you're doing $15 an hour activities when you're probably worth $500 an hour helping buyers and sellers like we do. So, and of course, we've got to leverage technology because why not, right? It's inexpensive and it makes your life easier and it just gets better all the time. And if you don't have a mindset around technology, definitely upgrade your mindset and just hire people. That really cool project I told you with Google Business, I'm not that smart. I hired someone to do it for me and it's phenomenal now. What used to take my virtual assistant probably 4 to 6 hours a week is now being done by AI at a fraction of the cost. And we put her into other projects that really, help us and help our clients have a better experience. So I love this quote by Jim Rohn. If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. The market's interesting right now. You'll find excuses, but don't find excuses. Find a way. Connect with me on social media at Christy Jenks on Instagram or Facebook. DM me if you found this useful. If you have any further questions, I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Go out, help some people, have a great business.